Welcome to Prime Space, a Prime Coaching Academy podcast with your host, Elias Scultori. Coaches, it's wonderful to be here with you. I am not alone today. I have Joe Miller. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Hi, Elias. How are you?
I am doing great, and thank you for coming here and spending this time with us at Prime Space. Joe Miller is an ACC coach. He is a leadership coach focused on next generation leaders, and he likes to work with clients that are moving from individual contributor to management and leadership. Joe lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was asking him, Joe, what is one thing that you would like to share with the audience? And he said, I love to laugh, but I can't laugh right now because I just did this whitewater kayaking and I am all sore all over. So, Joe, thank you for your adventurous soul.
Thank you. I feel like this is a continuation of that adventure, but it's an honor to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here. Joe is a regular listener of Prime Space, and he reached out to me with a question, and I thought that question was something interesting for us to discuss here at Prime Space. So, Joe, what is the question?
Thanks, Elias. And yes, listener from the beginning, and thank you for all that you do in terms of providing this content to the coaching community. It's very meaningful and helpful. Hopefully today's the same. So the question is something I've noticed, and it's taken a while for this to come up in my practice, and I feel very lucky. But the thing is that it feels as though clients show up in one of a couple of modes. You could almost call them approaches. And this is overly reductive, and everyone's on a continuum, and everyone can show up differently from day to day. And I'm always open to that, and I get it. But in any given day with any given client, right now at this moment, I can see someone in mode one who is confident. They're on the spiral staircase going up. They're optimistic. They've got this, faith, is a higher faith in themselves. They're capable, they're willing, they're creative, they have a clarity of thought. Doesn't mean they're not without a problem to solve or something deeper on their mind. And in fact, they usually come more prepared. That's this mode one. Then there's mode two, which I'm really just starting to encounter and notice lately. I've had one or two clients who've shown up with more of an insecurity, a lacking mindset. They're kind of marching down the spiral staircase. They're not having the success. And so the lack of success is breeding doubt. It might be something very specific they're focused on, like a job search, and they're just not having luck yet. And so they are losing or lacking faith, and they're retreating to old habits and things that they know, even though those things aren't working. They tend to show up as a victim or a villain or a hero, kind of that triad that we've heard of. And so it's very difficult to get them creative and empowered towards their own success and moving towards new ways of being. And so I'm just wondering how we can lean on the Prime model and the core competencies and think about these two modes, especially that second one, which is just more challenging for me right now.
Yeah, well, thank you for the question, and thank you for noticing and reflecting. So first of all, you're showing reflective practice, which is so beautiful for all of us to think about this idea of what is truly happening with my clients. How are my clients showing up? What is happening in the sessions and the relationship that we are building with the client? And you are noticing that there this distinction between a client that comes ready, full of energy, direction, focus, and a client that is lacking a little bit of that energy, lacking a little bit of that faith in themselves or even the motivation. But what is interesting is that client still shows up and is still coming to the coaching session. So somehow they haven't lost their hope.
It's fair. And I think it also provides a pathway to something that is always an answer to a coaching question, which is how can we stay curious longer? So getting curious about what is bringing them to that coaching session each week.
In curiosity, I always say curiosity is the fuel of coaching. Whatever is happening in the coaching conversation, whether if it's coming from the client or if it's coming from us, how can we look at this that is coming up with curiosity? Because there is always something there for us to investigate. And it is in that investigation that we are going to learn and that the client is going to learn.
When do we know that coaching just isn't working? Maybe it's time for a referral to a different type of coach or mode of support for this person, or maybe it's just time to let go of the client altogether.
Yeah. So many points to consider here. There is this aspect of coachability. Is the client really ready to engage in the coaching conversation? One of the definitions of coaching that I like the most is starts. It's a long definition, but it starts with a phrase: coaching is a thought-provoking process with a willing individual. You know, we say in coaching, the client does the work. The client is the one who does the work. So if the client is not willing to do the work, there isn't anything that we can do. And this is not in coaching. It can be coaching, therapy, consulting, mentoring, teaching, facilitating, whatever it is. We need to be very mindful that we don't have the power over this other individual. This other individual will do whatever they want to do. In coaching, even more so, because coaching is the moment for the client to process, to think things through. If they are not willing and ready to do it, I don't have a magic wand to go and make them do that. However, especially this situation, the client keeps coming back. So I am like, what is bringing this client back? What is it that the client is looking for here? What makes the client show up this way? They are paying for this time. They are hiring us. What is it that they really want out of the coaching conversation? And this is something for me a moment for me to reflect on the idea. Yes, I may have a preference to work with clients that are ready to go and direct. I may have a tendency to prefer that. However, if I take a step back, if I pay attention, what is about that preference in me? What is happening with me that perhaps some judgment or some labeling of either one of these modes that prevents me from really embracing this individual as whole, resourceful, and capable? And this is the primary point for me here in this conversation, regardless of the mode that the client shows up, mode 1, mode 2, or mode 150, because there are so many modes, right? What is my mindset? Am I looking at this client as there is a deficiency here, or the client is not doing the job that they are supposed to do? Or am I seeing them as whatever way they show up, it's who they are and it's how they are right now in the moment that they are in their lives? What can I do here to support them where they are? And what are my expectations that they are supposed to be A or Z? Can I accept them for who they are in the moment? What do you think?
No, it's beautiful. And I think it comes back to part of the notes that I sent you about this topic, which is how real are these modes, and do they really, or as much at least, reflect my own growth and learning opportunities and shifting opportunities, thinking opportunities as a coach, right? And I think both are true. I think both are definitely true. I will say this: at the end of the day, just like we say, it's not coaching without movement or action. Well, okay. that gives us some hope and something to cling to with someone who doesn't show up as motivated or seemingly as capable, even in their own mind. Speaking of meeting someone where they're at, maybe I should say, and
Thank you.
so 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 then how does success factor in, really? And I think this is, their definition of success and whether they're experiencing any or not, and how does that factor in to our approach and our overall view of what's happening with a client in these modes.
And you arrived at a wonderful place here, because we may have our own definition of success. We may have our own definition of what is action, what is movement, what is success, what is value. And this particular client may have a different definition of action, movement, value, success, etc. So who is the one setting the definition for that particular process with that particular client? And it's not that we are simply going to accept whatever, but perhaps even as an agreement that we are setting with the client to find out what is success for that particular client. And it may not be the one that resonates the most with us. We may have a tendency to prefer other clients with other modes, but can I help this client to move forward based on their definition of moving forward, not my definition of moving forward?
Yes. And I think this is the ultimate path for curiosity, and also it's the beginning of the coaching relationship, and it's the beginning of the coaching call, and it's also the middle and the end in many cases, right? So as I think about one particular client right now, which I'm relating back to, it's get that agreement, get that focus as quickly as you can, but it's as long as it takes, right, Elias?
Yeah.
So
yep, absolutely. and understand what is the client's approach, the client's expectation, and then be able to flex our own style to support this individual to move in the direction that they are moving. It's not that we are not going to challenge them, that we are not going to ask questions. There are, clarifying questions to support them in seeing different paradigms. But is it that I am expecting that the coaching process will go in a certain way that I want it to go, or is it that I am there to support the coaching process to go in a way that suits the client? I think that is a core point to think about here. So, Joe, as we close our conversation here, what are the takeaways?
That there's so much nuance here, as I knew there was, but sometimes you have to start with something simple, maybe spotting the simplicity of a couple of modes, and then letting that drive the curiosity, and then staying really diligent about the overarching agreement, what the client expects, needs, where they are. And I think in that nuance, in that curiosity, in that exploration and excavation, there can also be excitement, challenge, and interest on the coach's part that maybe, for me at least, comes a little more naturally when someone's more in mode one, but still makes me want to genuinely be there and support and coach someone who might be in mode two at the moment.
Oh, Joe, thank you so much for this question, and thank you so much for this conversation. We did not cover like 1/5 of this topic because there is so much here, but I hope that this was helpful to you, and I hope that this was helpful to the listeners. And listeners, here, Joe just sent me an email and he had a question, and we are here having this podcast. So perhaps you have a question and you have, or a thought or a topic that you would like to talk about, and maybe you can come and become a guest here at Prime Space as well. So reach out and let me know, and we can record a session with you as well. Thank you so much for listening. Please share this episode with other coaches, and don't forget to subscribe yourself. Don't forget our YouTube channel, and we'll talk to you next time.